Ending literal college vid?
Don't look now.
Not super interested in that one. What about why the SpaceX IPO is unlike any other? And we've talked about this, but I'm interested in seeing. Maybe they got some stuff I hadn't seen.
SpaceX is taking off. And we're not just talking about...
It's just such a big deal. It's the largest IPO in history. Elon is changing so many rules for it. It is by far the most overvalued company in terms of like price to sales that has ever IPO'd. Or at least at this size. I mean, it's really crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure.
We've never seen anything like this.
SpaceX's initial public offering is expected to raise as much as $75 billion, more than double the record-setting.
Dude, what's wild is, so they put out their S1, which is where they list all their financials and their company and what they're doing, and which is required to IPO. And in it, they mention AI like 3,000 plus times. I heard it described as more times than Jesus is mentioned in the Bible. And they mention rockets like 1/14 of that. So it's like nominally a rocket company, but all they talk about is AI. And the company had zero AI until Elon forced them to buy Grok recently. So like, it's like this good rocket company with a good business, which is Starlink, and then all this other dog shit tacked on that all loses money.
$29.4 billion raised by Saudi Aramco in 2019.
This is the biggest IPO of all time.
We're looking at $2 trillion in valuation.
Elon long had said that he didn't really plan on taking SpaceX public.
Wait, Elon lied? That's a shocker. By the way, I'm saying it now, as I've said a million times, once this company is public, they're going to merge it with Tesla to bail out Tesla and get it to the fucking $1 trillion market cap increase so he gets his $1 trillion pay package.
But that was before the merger with XAI, before he needed tens of billions of dollars to build out these ambitions.
But this massive valuation is also a test. Could all this hype make it seem worth more than it is?
If it's preordained, then it becomes hard to predict how much of the buyers are buying because of fundamentals or the valuation. So then that kind of distorts the market.
Investors are buying the dream.
Sure, we all know the dream, but what about the reality? Traditionally, an IPO, or initial public offering, was a primary way for companies to raise money.
Yeah.
Going public was also a badge of honor. But today, companies have all kinds of access to capital to fund their early growth.
This is a huge...
All the growth is happening in private markets now. By the time they go public, they're already so fucking big that you're taking a bet they have to 10x from there. Like when Facebook went public, it was like a few $1 billion of value. And that's one of the bigger IPOs ever. And now it's $1 trillion company. So all that growth you got to have as an investor, as a public investor. When Amazon went public, it was tiny. When Google went public, it was tiny. And if you invested in it as part of the public, you would gain all that appreciation as it became $1 trillion company. But now all the growth is happening in the private sphere, and then it goes public, dumping at the end when it's already $2 trillion.
Narrative in the American stock market right now where companies that used to go public at a very early stage now can wait really almost as long as they want because they have sources of funds that don't require public investors.
This trend has been fairly consistent, with the number of publicly listed companies in the US falling since the 90s.
SpaceX is an extreme case, but it's definitely not a one-off. A lot of companies are choosing to stay private, choosing to scale privately, choosing to raise funds privately, and then go public. And when they go public, they're already a mega cap.
SpaceX's 277-page filing with the SEC takes about as long to read as A Journey to Mars. It depicts a conglomerate handling dollar amounts practically unheard of in any other IPO.
And that filing is giving us a little bit more of a peek here into the health of this company.
After 2023, the company made a profit of $791 million, only to lose $4.94 billion in 2025. But between 2024 and 2025, its total revenue continued to grow from $14 billion to $18.5 billion.
We're looking at an estimated revenue projection between 22 and 24 billion. But when you compare that to the total valuation of the company that SpaceX is looking at for this IPO, we're looking at $2 trillion in valuation. That is a very big discrepancy.
And you can see that discrepancy here. Looking at major tech stocks, investors value Tesla and Nvidia at roughly 15 times their annual revenue. They look like bargains compared to SpaceX and its price to sales ratio of 87 times.
Dude, it's funny because on a normal chart, Tesla looks insane. On a normal chart, like we've done Tesla, Tesla's like, it's pretty fucking crazy how out there it is. Tesla's like, so much of it is not the revenue they currently have, but what they hope to have. And SpaceX is so much more extreme. This should not be a $2 trillion company. It doesn't make any sense.
SpaceX today is a very different company than the SpaceX that was founded more than 20 years ago. It is the largest satellite operator in the entire world with its Starlink constellation.
Like if this was like a 500, maybe a $400 billion company, and it had none of the extra shit attached, just the Starlink and the rockets, it would be a pretty cool investment. It's like well priced, it has growth, it's clearly a leader in its field, but instead it's this massively overpriced, overbloated thing with this massive money-losing grok Twitter arm attached to it. It just makes it a horrible investment for public investors.
With thousands and thousands of satellites operating in low Earth orbit that provide broadband internet to the ground below. So those are very real businesses that SpaceX has both commandeered and dominated.
This is full power and liftoff. Go Falcon, go Dragon.
On top of that, it operates rocket transportation services, either sending cargo and humans to space, even Mars travel someday. Those are still quite speculative and years away. All of these ambitious IPO-related programs all rely on Starship, and it's probably the most ambitious vehicle that's ever been conceived for spaceflight. It's meant to be fully reusable. That makes it extremely complicated, and its development process has been kind of rocky in order to get there.
Sheesh.
This is a rocket that last time exploded on the pad, so like...
Do you think Jeff Bezos, do you think Elon Musk snuck into Jeff Bezos' rocket launch and planted a detonator on it so that he wasn't the only one with a rocket blowing up at launch? Did it just blow up? That was Jeff Bezos's. It was a different one. I'm just wondering if he or he got Biden to do it, like the pipeline.
You want to think it's going to go well.
So much of its value proposition is tied up in stuff that hasn't quite happened yet.
Even though rockets and satellites have been its bread and butter, there's another more pressing reason to go public now.
They're also slowly becoming an AI company and building out data centers to both train and operate AI in the future. The amount of capital that they need to execute on all of these really ambitious goals is just going to require a lot more than maybe they can receive from all of their various businesses in a short amount of time. This concept of using space as, this new real estate for putting AI data centers, that seemed to be the game changer that got Elon thinking, okay, now might be the time to actually go public.
I'm taking the under. I know. Someone will tell me how it's going to happen. The guy can't keep his promises on Earth. You know what I'm saying? The timelines and the delays have been dragging on for like relatively basic Earth projects compared to fucking data centers in space. We have so many data centers in the real world that haven't broken ground or can't get open. Most GPUs purchased are in warehouses right now. They can't even be used because they don't have the power to connect or hook up data centers in the real world. They can't break ground. We've had like a few small data centers open in America, and they already have huge political pushback. The idea that we're going to open up data centers in space in any near term, it's not realistic.
An important aspect of SpaceX's
The Roadster
IPO
isn't even
will be
out.
its inclusion in the NASDAQ 100 index.
We have
But
these big
here's the thing: is all this wouldn't matter if it wasn't for this. This is the important part, because at the end of the day, if it's Elon Glazers losing money or people getting fooled, it's like whatever. You made your choice. You bought it. But because he is getting the rules changed so that people's retirement accounts have to buy this thing immediately instead of delaying a full year like they normally have to do, that is the fucked up part. Getting it automatically included into the indexes is...
indexes, like the S&P 500. It tracks the biggest 500 companies in the US, or the NASDAQ 100, which is the biggest tech companies. Many companies, or dare I say all, would like to be added to them because it means millions and millions of dollars of passive funds.
Again, everyone's retirement passively buys these, and it buys them at the valuation. It buys more in accordance to your market cap. So if you're a $2 trillion company, a lot of people's retirement is going directly into your to buying your stock. And this is the fucked up part. And this is not normal. This is only happening with this SpaceX IPO. He got the rules changed.
This passive money comes from everywhere. Pension funds, institutional investors, retirement accounts. Together, trillions of dollars flow automatically into funds like Invesco QQQ, which tracks the NASDAQ 100.
If SpaceX is in one of those indexes, it means millions and millions of Americans will hold your company.
Once the company is included in the NASDAQ 100, any investors who are buying the QQQ will by definition be investing their hard-earned money into SpaceX regardless of the valuation.
Inclusion in the NASDAQ 100 or S&P 500 used to be a lengthy process, but now, since many companies going public are already giant, the rules are getting bent.
The old playbook was that you go public, you undergo a seasoning period, you prove your profitability, your liquidity, and then maybe...
By the way, there used to be a profitability rule. You'd have to be profitable to get listed because you wanted to have profitable companies. That's also gone. SpaceX's last quarter was not profitable. Who enforces that rule? These are private businesses, the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange. They get to choose who gets listed. They have rules and regulations, but they've gotten rid of them.
You get added. The new playbook is the fast track entry. NASDAQ said, okay, we're going to fast track our rules. So instead of being public for 3 months, you can be part of the NASDAQ 100. And so SpaceX chose to list with NASDAQ.
Still, changing the rules to fast track a whale is not something you see every day in the markets.
There are a lot of risks when it comes to fast entry. There's price mismatch, liquidity, crowding, and there's also, of course, the over-concentration of mega-cap names.
my
because
workplace.
Increasingly, a lot of our holdings are just very few big companies. These few companies determine the future of your portfolio.
The market has become very concentrated. It's a very worrisome thing to a lot of people.
And SpaceX isn't the only big private company eyeing a blockbuster IPO while clinging to aspirational revenue goals.
If you look at companies like Anthropic and OpenAI and the rates at which they're growing and replicating themselves, those are going to be equally enormous
massive.
IPOs probably in not
Three
very distant
massive
future.
IPOs.
You can see a case where maybe enormous companies become the rule as far as IPOs go.
Going forward, this is going to be the debate. How much dispersion should there be? Who are the winners going to be? And will the appetite remain for all of the other much, much bigger IPOs, it should be said?
Despite the warning signs, many are wary of underestimating Elon Musk.
He's really built an entire brand on turning science fiction into reality, and investors are willing to bet that even if he doesn't deliver on the timeline, some of these ambitions like orbital data centers or building a colony on Mars.
They're not even betting on that, bro. They're betting on the fact that he is good at pumping the stock. That's what they're betting on. At the end of the day, they're going, hey, listen, I've seen you make number go up in the past. I want number go up. That's it. The fundamentals are out the window. They're definitely not convinced that he's going to make data centers in space a real. They're more convinced that he's going to sell the idea of data centers in space to someone else. That he's going to like get people excited about it.
Actually isn't out of the realm of possibility.
Yet the pressures of being a public company have a cost.
When you shift to a public company, your focus becomes more on short-term profits and how you're maximizing those profits for your shareholders. When it comes to space,
I mean, that's not really true for this company because Elon Musk has a dual class voting share system where his shares in SpaceX have 10x the voting power. So even if he's selling some to the public, they can never acquire enough to outvote him. He could have 10% of the company or whatever. He'd have more votes than everybody else. So his he's not necessarily beholden to the short-term whims of people asking for profit. It's more like he has said many, many times that he didn't want SpaceX to go public. He preferred it private. He liked the control. He liked to not have to worry about public markets and disclosures and everything. And so the reason he's doing it now seems to be obvious, which is that he wants to dump this thing at a huge valuation on retail and make a bunch of money. Like, if it's a profitable, well-run private company, why do this? The reason is it's this peak hype, peak mania valuation. The stock markets are super frothy right now. And it's like he wants to jump in while the iron's hot, be the first big IPO, and get a bunch of retail money.
there's a very long lead.
Especially because you just saddled this company with this hugely unprofitable Grok Twitter package. You spent billions, 250 billion or something, on adding Grok to this company and bailing out the Saudi investors that help you buy it. And now that's getting dumped on retail.
Time of development.
This Grok
They also
tumor.
need to be able to fail. We've seen quite a few explosions. That doesn't always.
So will SpaceX be a large part of the S&P 500 as a result? Yes. We can check right now. We can check. Holdings by weight. So here we go. Look, this is the S&P 500 holdings by weight. NVIDIA, if you're buying the S&P 500, is 7.5% of your holdings. That's just NVIDIA. One company is 7.5%. SpaceX would be bigger than Tesla. It's like right around here. So about 3% of everyone's retirement in the S&P 500 is going to go directly into SpaceX. That's crazy. That's crazy, bro. Instantly. And then on the NASDAQ, it's even more extreme because the NASDAQ's only 100 companies. It's more tilted to these big mega caps. And yeah, and it goes into the peak valuation. One last thing I'll say is that, I've kind of explained this before, but worth explaining again, just so you understand, is that, I used the Charizard example. Let's say you owned every Charizard. You've got them all in your garage. You've got 100. There's 100 Charizards in the world, and you have all 100 in your garage. Let's say you list just one for sale. Okay? You take one Charizard and you list it for sale. Well, there's only one for sale, so the bid is crazy. Everyone's like, oh my God, finally a Charizard's available. The bid is insane. And so the price gets super skyrocketed up. And then you go and say, okay, well, this sold for $1 million. Well, I have 100 of these, so I have $100 million valuation. That's how much I have. Even though if you were to list them all at once, the price would be a lot lower. The bid would be a lot lower. If there was 100 available, there would be more demand. It would be less scarce. It would be lower. So what they're doing with SpaceX is they're only listing a small amount of the shares, like 5%, a very small amount of the float. This is, again, one of the rule changes. So they're listing such a few amount of stocks. So when the Elon Glazers and the people that are interested in space and the passive investors all buy in, they're bidding up a small amount of shares to a very large price to justify this massive $2 trillion valuation. And then he's saying that all the other shares are worth this amount. But if they were all listed, the price would be a lot lower. How do you change the rules? So there's a benefit for the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange to having a big company list on them. And so he played them against each other. He basically said, NASDAQ, if you don't change the rules, I'm not going to list with you. I'm list somewhere else. And they really wanted this big SpaceX IPO. It's big, fucking buzzy. And so he played them against each other to get the rules bent. That's what happened. So So yeah, I do think this is a big story. I know a lot of people have covered it. I think it's worth mentioning in case you didn't see one of those stories and only watch Big A or whatever. But I think it's a big story. I think what Elon's doing is pretty scummy, and I think if valuations ever normalize to more realistic levels, the SpaceX is going to be a huge hit to a lot of people's retirement. I think if that was ever valued even somewhat normally, people are going to lose a lot of money. And it's like, he just dumped it on them. All right, well, that's that. I did see Zeka go crazy on Fizz, bro. I thought it was beast. Getting a Majais in a pro game on Fizz, that was awesome to watch. Almost even want to reinstall, but I didn't. Bro, I gotta pee. I gotta pee. 1 second. I gotta pee. Yup. And down. What is good? What is good? What is good? What is good? A little 007 maybe, or maybe Age of Empires, maybe a little gaming. Did you see that? I don't know if this could be a story or a clip. Maybe it's a small thing. Maybe it's a Big A bite. Maybe it's for Big A bonus. China, you know, a lot of countries are trying to solve the birth rate, so they're doing things like give more money to couples. China, one of their methods to try and get the birth rate back up is by making condoms more expensive and not allowing them to market. So they increased the price by removing this tax, or they had a tax exemption they got rid of for the condom companies. So the condom price has gone up, and then they prevented them from being able to like do advertising, which I think is pretty funny. It's like the other side of trying to boost birth rates. It could never backfire. I mean, it doesn't seem to be working, right? It doesn't seem to be working. I don't think that's like a big, but it was a pretty funny. The condom crackdown. Poor Durex. We've looped all the way around from the one-child policy. Oh, definitely. Definitely. There's no more one-child policy. There's 100% have more kids. But I think what I saw was, the marriage rate is obviously makes sense, but like once you are married, you're way more likely to have a kid, and the marriage rate is like upstream, but really bad. Marriage rates in China have plummeted to record lows. Yeah. Why marry? It's so expensive. That's what people said there. The dating was definitely one of the thorniest issues. Talking to young people there, was that it was, but it is everywhere, but it was particularly bad. It was expensive. Aren't there twice as many men as women? It's not twice as many, but there is there's a surplus of, I think, 30 million. They call them, what is it, like broken branches? It's 30 million extra men. The mandated divorce cooling off period scares people. That's the thing where people can't easily file for divorce. Like there's a certain amount of time they have to stay together. Yeah, like 30 days. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. The dating issue, I mean, I think everywhere people are finding this with young people, is it's becoming weird with the internet and everything, but definitely that was one of the big complaints was dating and marriage. It seems like there's a real push-pull between like family expectations, the economic reality, and how things have changed. And all those things are like making it a real tough time. Every statistic is a record these days, but nothing ever happens. But doesn't it feel like things are happening? Like, isn't it kind of weird to say nothing ever happens when so much stuff has happened and is happening? Like, it's not. I think when you want something to happen, you're like, you want, I don't know, like a revolution or something. But that's not what happened. I'm just thinking shit is happening. People are different. Babies are not born that would be born, or the wars are happening. There's things that are happening. The world's having things that happen. What's wrong with less dating? Isn't there overpopulation crisis? Well, first of all, I think dating and marriage and kids are usually a sign of like a mammal being happy or like human happiness. So there's probably a larger sign across America, China, everywhere of like people feeling weirdly isolated. I think that's one part of it. But then I would say also overpopulation is a fine thing to be worried about. But when our population pyramids are so skewed, the problem is not so much that we have too many or too few people. It's that we have way too many old people, and old people don't work and they need support. So it's really like, it's like you want the old people to be the few. But if we have a reverse upside down pyramid where the old people are this is the working age people, that's why. If nobody has kids, you just end up with an ever increasing burden of the old. Send them to Walmart. I don't know if that'll work. We could do like, how like every teen dystopian novel has, like Hunger Games or whatever, has teens sent off to die in a battle royale. What if it's old people? What if it's old? What if it's like everyone's watching Hunger Games, but it's grandmas and grandpas? The bingo games, yeah. I'm sure Mr. Beast could cook something up. Hey, Truck, first time chatter here. Do you think a Strait of Hormuz situation could cause the U.S. to strategically position itself as a world power, given the situation is the element of military power? No, I don't think that. What do you mean? The U.S. was a world power. They were probably the world power. And the Iran situation showcased strong limits of that. And in fact, is denigrating their ability to project power. It still is, but it definitely feels like a Suez crisis situation was for Britain, where it feels like it's such a hard limit, such a public hard limit and then you ask allies for help and they don't do it and you have nothing to, I think it's a bad look. I feel like Iran was by far Trump's biggest mistake. Wouldn't you agree we have the firepower to force open the strait in a week or two, aside from mines, but the Yemen hasn't went to for some reason? It's not for some reason. It's that if they were to do it, first of all, they can't. I actually disagree that they could force it open. Because the problem with the Strait of Hormuz is that you don't need a lot of money to close it because of geography. They just need these $10,000 drones to hit a boat every now and then nobody can sail through. So just understand that, like, they don't need anything really. They need like a mountain base and a drone. It's cheap. They can do it forever. So the game has changed. So, like, regardless of military power, I don't think they could stop it. But even if they could, their other big fear is that Iran will continue to strike missiles. Like, if they hit oil refineries and power plants in Iran, Iran will hit missiles of those things in Qatar and the UAE and other American allies in the Persian Gulf. And if those get hit, the amount of oil barrels lost to global supply is so gargantuan. Gas prices spike even higher. So that's what they're afraid of. Not that it's like a big moral thing. So yeah, theoretically they could open it with boots on the ground. I guess that would be the next escalation. But I don't think any of us wants another boots on the ground military quagmire in the Middle East. That's why it's just been a bad idea. It was a bad idea. It was just a bad idea. Iran was afraid enough of what might happen that they didn't blockade the Strait of Hormuz. But now that they've been forced to do it, it's like, oh, the costs aren't as high as we thought. Like, it's, I don't know. That's the problem. Is it the status quo before was way better? And then I think one of the biggest problems is like, one of the biggest problems of this war is that right before it, we did not stock up the Strategic Petroleum Reserve and we pissed off all our allies. If you're thinking about going to war, a war that will cut off a lot of world oil, two things you could do is like really loop in your allies, get a tight fucking unit, and then prepare with buying a bunch of oil. We did neither of those things. So it was just dumb. Like, it's just dumb. Whether or not you agree with it or not, it's just dumb. It wasn't executed well. First time chatter here. I'm a bit jaded with American politics. If Republicans keep with the South in the Senate for midterms, I mean, I just don't think that'll happen. You know, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it, but right now you should probably fight. I don't think that's going to happen. The House, almost zero. I mean, I would take money bets that the Republicans lose the House. The Senate's still a toss-up. There's a lot going into that, but I've talked about this a bunch. I don't have a complete answer for you yet, Hesh Edge. I think they're doing something. I'll tell you that. I think it's smart of them to try and do something. I'm a little disappointed based on what I've read so far that it is so two-tiered and exempts all the elderly who already benefit from it. But I understand that they kind of have to do that or it'll be too politically unpopular to pass. So it's them trying to change it for 15, 20 years down the road instead of trying to fix it now. Young people today, I don't think they have that kind of time, but at least they're trying. At least they're trying. Did you see the FT's piece on big tech returns on AI investments? I did, yeah. Poor. Mega smear campaign going everywhere just blasting him? Yep, 100%. 100%. I mean, there's so much money in Australian real estate that even the thought that it might tiny bit slow down, it might lose the gravy train, they're going to spend a bunch of money to stop it. That's why I think, I mean, if you're going to get that kind of press anyway, fucking pull the trigger, bro. But tough to say. Are you a Durex or Trojan guy, Big A? This is a little too personal, but I'm trying to have a kid. So, I'll abide by the China policy. You know what I'm saying? They're a little bit too expensive. They're a little bit too expensive. Okay. It's actually, bro, here's the thing is I really, I'll play some game. I think not Bond. I think not Bond. I'll play Bond. I think I'll just try to like mainline Bond tomorrow. I need to do like one small thing. What's one small thing? I could do one AoE game. I could do one Hitman run. I could do a Slay the Spire run, I guess. The thing is, I already beat Slay the Spire. I love Slay the Spire. I really do. It's such a fun game, but I A10'd everything.